Hi again folks, how's all doing? This is a Bachmann 8F that was sent to me by George. He told me that this started running slowly and then started shorting. Let's turn on the power. There's a slight buzz coming from the model and the ammeter is maxing out. I've got a feeling this is yet another dying motor, but let's shove it into the shed and we'll see what's what. Alright, a Bachmann 8F. I don't think I've looked at one of these. I'm not sure, I'll need to look back. I've worked on so many locomotives now, I forget what I've worked on and what I haven't. Condition wise, this seems to be okay. We've got Bachmann's ridiculous drawbar coupling. But yeah, why is this kind of ground to a halt and maxing out the ammeter? I guess we just have to open it up and have a look. George did say he's removed the DCC gubbins and set it up for DC running, but it's still doing the same thing. So either the motor's dead or there's an electrical problem somewhere, or there's something physical stopping it running. Can't just get rid of that tender, it's all wired up. 2 screws above the front bogie there. There's a screw there, which I think is probably maybe holding the body on, and also the drawbar. So let's take the front bogie off first of all. Oh, that screw's very stripped. Bigger screwdriver. There we go. So 2 screws there. One of them's maybe just holding the cylinders on. Why would you have 2 screws so close together like that? Do that one. Drawbar comes out. Is this now going to come out? Yes, right. Oh, we've got these silly handrails at the back. Oh, I think I have worked on one of these before. I think it was it's one of the ones I reassembled, if I remember rightly. Can't forget these handrails. Right. So the DCC gubbins must be in the tender. To remove these wheels to get into the tender. And there is the socket and the blanking plate. So the plan of action here is to disengage the motor and check the drivetrain just to make sure it's not jamming up anywhere. If that's okay, we'll take the motor out, we'll desolder it and take it out and test it. You shouldn't really test a motor when it's all connected up to DCC stuff. Let's see if we can get this motor out. If I remember rightly, it kind of lifts off like that, and then we can prise this motor up and out. Like that. Let's put this little screw back. I think it holds the cylinders in place. Ooh, that middle screw for the underframe is loose. Put this tender back together just now. There's not much point in it being in bits. There's no pickups in the tender, which is a bit of a shame. Piece of track. So that seems okay. So that kind of rules out any mechanical issue. Interesting. That motor seems fine. I think I'll need to go online and see if there's a service sheet for this, see how this was originally. I'm guessing this, originally was just a DC model and it's been converted to DCC. I'm going to have to go online and do some wiring research, I think. Okay, so I went online and downloaded the service sheet for this. I've looked at it before, but I just wanted to check how this would have originally been wired for DC running, and those two wires that have been cut at the front there would have connected to the motor. But because this has been rigged up for DCC, those have been cut and taped off, and the wires come from the DCC socket to the motor. And it all checks out, all seems fine. So I don't see a problem with the wiring. So I was a little bit stuck as to why this wasn't running. I tried a different blanking plate, but yeah, it just seemed to be shorting. And then I remembered when I worked one of these before, I remember thinking that there was a big short risk on this model. And I'm wondering if it's the pickups are hitting the chassis. Because I remember when I worked on this before, the pickups are in two halves, and they're very close. They're just mounted into the underframe, and they're very, very close to the metal of the chassis. So I'm just wondering if they're touching. So unscrew the underframe, lift that out. Oh, the wires are tight. And there you can see, yeah, see, these are raised up. They should be flat. Get the endoscope in. So I think the pickups there is touching the die-cast metal of the chassis. We can test that by, we'll just disengage that drive wheel, and if I apply power to the pickups, if I'm correct, the motor will spin. There we go. So all I need to do is somehow insulate the pickups from the chassis, but it's beer o'clock, so I'll have a think about it. I'll come back to it tomorrow. Okay, so this is the next day. I had a couple of ideas about how to insulate the pickups from the chassis, using little strips of clear plastic and a couple of other ideas, but in the end I've just gone for a couple of bits of duct tape. Just get the endoscope in. So a couple of strips of duct tape on there should stop the short circuit. You can actually see on one of the pickups what looks like a little bit of scorching, so I think that's where the short was occurring. So we'll get this put back together. These wheels in position. Get this back down. This is why I chose duct tape, so it stays in place while I get that back in, because anything else might have fallen out of position and interfered with the drive gear or whatever. It's going to go in there. I've actually just noticed that the little peg that the drawbar hooks onto in the tender is a bit worn down or been broken. Just before we do anything else, let's just check that this works. Right. There we go. We've got a bit of fresh grease on the worm gear. Hold on, my grease, there it is. very exposed, that worm gear. Everything else seems fine, so let's get the body back on. See, the screw just pulls out. It probably doesn't matter too much. I think I'm just going to put a wee bit of black tack under the head of the screw just to stop it from dropping down onto the track. Push that down in there. Yeah, I'll keep that secure. I've put a tiny little screw into what's left of the peg on under the tender there, just to keep that drawbar in place a bit better. And that should be that. There we go. Right, let's pull it out of the shed. Okay then, let's bring it out. So there we are, that's George's 8F sorted out. For some reason I got a bit distracted initially. I went looking for some sort of electrical issue or maybe a dud motor or something wrong with the drivetrain. But the problem was actually a very obvious one, and I really should have spotted it sooner. A simple case of the pickups shorting against the chassis. Just a bad design. You know, there really should be some sort of insulating plate between the pickups and the chassis on this model. When I worked on one of these a wee while ago, you know, I kind of rebuilt it from a load of parts, but I do remember then thinking that the model had a potential shorting risk, and after I looked at the service sheet when I was working on this, it all kind of came flooding back, and I remembered the problem. But a wee bit of duct tape sorted it, and it runs fine now. Quite relieved it wasn't a motor replacement job. Okay, I shall get this packed up and sent back to George. Catch you later, folks.